At my graduation, she shouted, "I'm proud of the man who inspires me," and pointed to him. Not me, the man who had spent years grinding through sleepless nights, textbooks stacked higher than my patience, eating noodles because I couldn't afford much else. No, she pointed to him. I swear, the moment those words left her lips, the applause around me turned into static, the camera flashes blurred, and all I could hear was the pounding in my chest. You ever have one of those moments where time slows down, where everyone else is celebrating, clapping, smiling, and you're just standing in the middle of it all, watching the floor cave beneath your feet? That was me. My cap sat crooked on my head, the tassel brushing against my cheek, my diploma rolled up in my hand like a cruel joke. I'd done everything right. I'd fought for this day. She knew how much it meant to me. And yet in the one moment I thought I'd finally be seen, she made me invisible. Let me take you back a bit. She and I had been together through the worst years. I'm talking about the nights I studied, until dawn, while she fell asleep on the couch waiting for me. The mornings I dragged myself to class after working a double shift, and she'd kiss my cheek, whispering, "You're going to make it." She wasn't just my girlfriend. She was my anchor, or at least that's what I believed. And him? He was my mentor, my professor, the guy who encouraged me when I doubted myself, who told me I had potential others couldn't see. I respected him, trusted him. He was the one who pushed me to apply for scholarships, who gave me books to read when I couldn't afford them. He was supposed to be the man who lifted me up academically, not the man who stole the woman I loved emotionally. So when she pointed at him, and shouted those words for the whole auditorium to hear, I felt the betrayal hit me like a car crash. I'm proud of the man who inspires me. Everyone clapped, laughed, thought it was sweet, assumed she was cheering me on. But I saw it, the angle of her finger, the way her eyes locked on his, the subtle nod he gave back. No one else noticed. But I did. I didn't move, didn't flinch. I smiled like a man should on graduation day, shaking hands, taking photos, hugging family members who told me how proud they were. On the outside I looked like the man of the hour. Inside I was spiraling. Every hug felt like a lie. Every smile felt like a mask cracking under the heat of the truth I'd just seen. That night, after the ceremony, we went out for dinner. Big group, family, friends, him, her, everyone raising glasses, toasting to my future. I sat there, chewing food that turned to ash in my mouth, pretending to laugh at jokes I didn't hear. She sat beside me, her hand resting lightly on my thigh under the table, her nails grazing my skin like she was claiming me. But every time she glanced across the table, her gaze lingered on him just a fraction too long. Do you know how sickening it is to sit at a table where your achievements are celebrated while the woman you love is silently tethered to someone else? To watch her smile at your mentor like he's the one who climbed every rung of the ladder with blistered hands. I sat there thinking, this can't be real. I must be imagining it. But my gut knew better. When we got back to the hotel, she kissed me. She whispered, "I'm so proud of you." Her eyes looked soft, genuine. But I'd seen her earlier. I'd seen the way she lit up at him, the way she shouted not for me but for him. Her words tasted hollow, like recited lines from a play. That night, while she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling, my diploma sitting on the nightstand, the one thing I'd fought hardest for, tainted in a single sentence. My mind replayed her voice, over and over. I'm proud of the man who inspires me, not the man who loves me, not the man who sacrificed, the man who sat in an office, while I poured blood and sweat into becoming somebody. I should have confronted her right then, shaken her awake and demanded answers. But something inside me said, not yet, don't waste this moment on words she'll twist. So I stayed silent. I let the silence grow heavy in the room, pressing down on me until my chest ached. In the days that followed, I watched her closely, the way she texted with a little smile tugging at her lips, the way she suddenly had study meetings she didn't mention before, the way she brought his name into conversations too often, too casually, like sprinkling seasoning onto every dish. I listened, nodded, pretended. Meanwhile, I pieced things together. One evening I caught her diary half open on her desk. Normally I would have closed it, respected her privacy, but not anymore. Not after graduation. Not after the spa of her eyes meeting his in front of hundreds of people. I flipped through the pages with shaking hands. And there it was, entry after entry about him. How he saw her, how he understood her in ways I couldn't, how she couldn't wait for the day when things made sense. I swear the words blurred as my vision clouded with rage. But again I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because I realized something. If she was bold enough to point to him at my graduation, if she was careless enough to write about him in her diary, she was already confident she wouldn't get caught. And that arrogance would be her undoing. So I started gathering. Quietly. Patiently. I logged her excuses, her emails, her sudden changes in schedule. I checked bank statements, hotel receipts, even the subtle way she began dressing differently, wearing perfume she hadn't touched in years. She was painting a new version of herself for him, and I was watching the masterpiece she thought nobody else saw. I didn't tell anyone, not my parents, not my friends, not even when the weight of it felt like it would crush me, because I wanted the explosion to be clean, precise, irrefutable. And when the moment came, I wanted them both exposed under a light so bright they couldn't crawl back into the shadows. Graduation was supposed to be the day I stepped into my future. Instead, it became the day I learned everything I believed in could collapse with a single shout from the woman I loved. And in that collapse, I found something sharper than heartbreak. I found clarity. Because now, I wasn't just the man with a diploma. I was the man with a plan. And trust me, the story didn't end on that stage. It was only beginning. The night after graduation, I couldn't sleep. I lay there in the dark with her beside me, her breathing steady, her hand resting lightly on my chest, as if nothing was wrong. But I knew. I had seen her, heard her voice echo in that auditorium, watched her point across the room to him. Not me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her finger, saw his subtle nod, saw the unspoken connection between them. It gnawed at me until the ceiling felt like it was pressing down. I wanted to shake her awake, demand an explanation, scream until my throat gave out. But I didn't. I rolled onto my side, stared at the shadows on the wall and whispered to myself, "Wait. Be patient." The days that followed were like living in a play where everyone else believed the script. But I knew the actors were improvising. She laughed at my jokes, kissed me goodbye, sent me texts during the day. On the surface we looked perfect, but the cracks were obvious now. I caught the way her smile lingered when she looked at her phone, the way she slipped into the other room to take calls, her voice soft, low, almost tender, the way his name kept surfacing in conversation, slipped in casually, like it belonged. At first, I doubted myself. Maybe I was reading too much into it. Maybe pointing to him at graduation meant nothing. But then the patterns began stacking, one on top of the other, until denial wasn't an option. I was living in the middle of betrayal and everyone else was blind to it. One night, I found her diary. Not hidden, just lying open on the desk. Normally I would have respected her privacy, but after graduation, privacy was no longer a luxury she'd earned. I picked it up. My hands shook as I flipped through the pages, and there it was. Her words, written in the same looping handwriting I'd once thought was beautiful. He makes me feel seen. He understands me in ways I can't explain. I can't wait for the day when this all makes sense. She hadn't written my name once. Not once. That's when everything crystallized. She was planning a life with him, while pretending to live one with me, and worse, it wasn't just him. It was him. My mentor. My professor. The man I admired, trusted, looked up to. The man who guided me through the hardest years of study, who once told me, "You're going to go further than I ever did." I didn't realize he meant I'd go further in school while he went further into my relationship. I closed the diary, placed it back exactly as I found it, and sat there for hours, staring at the wall. Rage burned in me like wildfire, but underneath it was something colder, sharper, clarity. I realized I couldn't confront her. Not yet. Confrontation gives them room to twist, to deny, to gaslight. No, I needed more. I needed undeniable proof. And when the moment came, I needed an audience. So I started collecting, quietly, carefully. When she left her laptop open, I checked her emails. I found a trail, Little things at first. Meeting requests. Dinner confirmations. Then messages she thought she'd deleted, written with too much affection to be professional. I screenshotted them all, emailed them to myself, tucked them away in a hidden folder. I checked our bank statement. Charges at restaurants she never mentioned. Hotels I'd never seen. Small amounts. Nothing too flashy, but consistent, like a breadcrumb trail leading me straight into their secret world. I even checked her phone when she showered. The messages were coded, nothing explicit, but the timing, the emojis, the frequency, it was obvious. She had renamed him under a different contact. Sarah. Except Sarah didn't send heart emojis at midnight. Every discovery stung, but it also fueled me, because with every lie I uncovered, I felt less like a victim and more like an architect. I was building something. A reckoning. Then came the perfect opportunity. My parents decided to throw a belated graduation party. Something small, just family, friends. A chance to celebrate properly. They asked me to invite her, of course, and any close mentors who'd supported me. Naturally, I said yes. I invited her, and I invited him. The night of the party, the house was buzzing. Music played softly in the background. People mingled with glasses in hand. Laughter filled the air. I moved through the crowd like nothing was wrong, smiling, hugging, thanking people for coming. But inside, I was ice. Because tonight wasn't just a celebration. Tonight was the stage. She arrived looking beautiful, radiant even, wearing the dress I'd once told her was my favorite. She kissed me on the cheek, smiled for photos, held my hand like she always had. He arrived later, shaking my hand, clapping me on the back, calling me son like he always did. I smiled, nodded, introduced him to family members who already admired him. They had no idea, none of them did. After dinner, when the plates were cleared and everyone had gathered in the living room, my father asked me to say a few words. I stood, glass in hand, heart steady, mind clear. I want to thank everyone here tonight. For believing in me, for supporting me, for helping me get here. Graduation wasn't easy, but I didn't do it alone. She smiled at me, her eyes shining. He nodded approvingly, that same mentor's nod he'd always given me. I let the silence stretch a moment longer, before continuing. There's something else I need to share tonight. Something about honesty. 'Cause what's the point of celebrating success if the foundation it rests on is rotten? The room shifted. Confused glances. Uneasy shuffling. She tilted her head, frowning slightly. He stiffened. I pulled a folder from under my chair. Thick. Heavy. Months of screenshots, receipts, diary pages. I opened it slowly, deliberately, like a man unsealing fate. For the past year, I said, my voice calm but loud enough to carry. The woman I loved has been writing about another man, meeting another man, building a life with another man. And the cruelest part, it's not just anyone. It's him. I pointed, right at him. Gasps echoed through the room. She jumped to her feet, her face draining of color. Wait. Stop. Please, we can explain. No, I cut her off. Slamming the folder down on the table, pages spilled out. Emails, receipts, her diary entries in her own handwriting. You've already explained. Every word, every lie, every moment you thought nobody saw, it's all here. The room erupted. My mother covered her mouth, eyes wide. My father cursed under his breath. Friends whispered, jaws slack. His face went red, his mouth opening and closing like he couldn't find air. She reached for me, tears streaming down her cheeks. Please, not like this. Please don't do this here. I stepped back, my face calm, my voice cold. You did this here, at my graduation. When you shouted those words and pointed to him, you made your choice. Now you live with it. Silence. Heavy, crushing, then like a dam breaking, chaos. Her family shouting. His wife. Yes, his wife. Screaming at him, throwing her glass across the room. Friends pulling me aside, asking if this was real. I just stood there, watching it all burn, sipping from my glass like I'd waited my whole life for this moment. That night ended with her sobbing on the porch, begging me to listen, to forgive. I didn't. He left in disgrace. His reputation in ashes, his marriage shattered, families fractured, friendships ended. And me, I walked away lighter than I'd felt in months. The aftermath stretched on. Divorce papers, angry emails, whispers around campus about the professor who crossed the line. She tried to rebuild, tried to paint herself as misunderstood, but the evidence was too strong. Every page, every screenshot, every receipt spoke louder than her excuses. And me, I rebuilt too, slowly, painfully, but on my terms, because betrayal doesn't define you, it defines them. She thought she could shout in front of hundreds of people and point to him without consequence. She thought nobody would notice. She thought she was clever, but in the end, she gave me everything I needed in one sentence. I'm proud of the man who inspires me. She was right, in a way. He did inspire me, not to admire him, not to forgive him, but to destroy the illusion they built. And that's exactly what I did.